Okay, I think this should work pretty well. All right, perfect. So I'm just going to go right here to just to the website really quick. I'll try not to be promotional by any means, but just kind of give everybody an overview and a gist of the platform and what we've built and what we've been working on and where we plan to go in the future. So as many know, Geopogo is an augmented reality design platform. It's aimed towards the design and construction industry. So we have architectural firms, construction companies, and then of course, firms and companies that do anything with design and construction that are on the platform. There's a mobile app for iPhones and iPads. And then of course, there's a desktop editor for PC and Macintosh. So the two work together, where on the desktop editor, you use it to import designs, create designs, and then export them to the mobile app. And I'll just load up here what the mobile app looks like. So you can find it on the App Store by searching Geopogo, and you can download it for free. So being tailored towards architects and contractors, we really specialized in importing 3D models from a program called Autodesk Revit. We can import models from many other sources like Maya, 3ds Max, ArchiCAD, or SketchUp, but Revit's really the best. We really optimized it so that the scaling and everything all kind of comes into one. But if you're working in other 3D software, you can bring those models in as well. .day models or OBJs are best, and they come in with all the materials, and they typically keep scaling. If the scaling's off, you can always adjust it in the editor. So once in the desktop editor, you use it to stage the models. And so maybe you want to adjust the scale, rotate it, move it around, or apply different materials, or import multiple models at the same time to build a scene. But ultimately, the desktop editor allows you to stage and really just create nice scenes, in which case you export then to the app. And so as we know, AR's best use case typically is outside, on-site, and in the context of where, in this case, architecture, where the building's being built. And so we've done a whole number of projects around the Bay Area and then across the country with different architecture firms, builders, and then, of course, owner-occupiers. We're updating the app constantly, and same with the desktop and the mobile app. John on the call is he's the architect of the app, and so he's always working with us to improve it and make it better. And we've had some really great projects done on the app. As we're working with different design teams, we're always learning how to make it better. We learned that we can get locked in our own confirmation bias, because we use it from inside and out. So we're willing to look past the difficulties and challenges. But we always love working with people and learning how to make it constantly better and better of an experience, not only for users and designers, but in the case of architecture, the clients of architects, which we've learned that they need a very highly streamlined user interface. So if you guys go on the website during this presentation, you can download the app. I'm going to do a live demo, pending any technical difficulties that always arise during these kind of things. And so I'm going to export a model to the app. So if you download the app, we can all open it together. And then, of course, if you want to download the desktop editor, there's a free trial, and you can go ahead and follow along with me. So I'll just pause here quickly. Any questions before I move on to the editor? Perfect. Okay, so let's go to the editor. So I'll just kind of go back real quick here. So I trust everyone can see my screen, and you see Geopogo with the house in the middle. Perfect. We know how Zoom is. Sometimes it doesn't always work how we want it to. So this is the Geopogo platform. we really wanted to create a friendly design experience, whether you're an architect importing your models or you're a novice user just wanting to get into AR and create your own designs. And so we wanted to kind of break away from the traditional software. When we're looking at Autodesk or Adobe or other solutions that, are very user interface driven, we wanted to kind of liven things up and make it fun and interactive. And so we're always working towards that goal. We built a multiplayer network into the editor as well. This really works to the future vision of the whole editor, where it's not just a standalone product, but one day in the future, entire teams will be able to design together at the same time in a real-time multiplayer network. You can import your models, of course, as we'll see today from Revit, or if you download models from Sketchfab or wherever, you can bring those in as well. You can load saved projects. We got a number of tutorials. And then, of course, to export to the app, you'll have to make an account. So just click this button here and it'll take you to the account creation portal. And that's fairly easy to do. So we're just going to hit continue. So this is the editor environment here. Works very similar to other design software. Works best with a mouse. We do get a lot of teams on Macintosh, and unfortunately, they don't have mice. And so it's always a bit of a challenge to use 3D, but if you can get a mouse, always use a mouse. One day we will figure out how to make the tracker pad effective. But this is the first little place here. So the first thing that we did in Geopogo is we started creating our own illustration tools. And so we were always interested in making a software where users could still create buildings regardless if they could use Revit, SketchUp, or other 3D design software. So you could use Geopogo and still make buildings and designs. And so, that's whether it's a residential design or it's a commercial design. But I'm just going to make something really quick here. I'm going to put some doors in it. It's going to make like a little apartment building here, give it a front door. Let's put it right here. And let's give this thing some windows. And so we see these tools one day mimicking BIM, but making them incredibly easy and game-like, where novice users can just get in and create a design really fast and not have to worry about spending years learning how to use the software. We pre-populated it with a whole library of different assets, everything from furniture to lighting. And so you can see, put some lighting down. And I'm going to put something here in the bedroom. There we go. And I'll put one more over here for the couch. And I'm just going to put a nice little bed in here. Rotate that around. And I'll do another one over here. And I could go on for hours. We've worked with teams where we've, built entire apartment buildings and, got to explore with them. There's outdoor landscaping, of course. And pretty much anything you need. We can even go and build a second story. And so I just I'll put a wall there. And then I can go ahead and add a floor. And so we can build for as long as we want and pretty much as much as we want. There's no limitation of what you can create. And then, of course, if I want to, I can export this to AR and that'll be there on the site. So we'll just call this Geopogo 1. Actually, I'm going to leave that because the export process can take a quick minute. Let's just do it. There we go. We'll hit export. And I'll just open up another session of Geopogo while that exports. The exporting process can take anywhere from a few seconds up to a minute or two. And that's just all dependent on internet speed, your connection, and of course, how big the model is. Because what it's essentially doing is it's exporting to it's going to the AWS 3 bucket, and then users are essentially uploading and then downloading it on the app. So that's the creator tools. Any questions on this part? Okay, perfect. So the team's doing a pretty big update to these tools, and we hope to get it out, if not this Friday, early next week. And so we're really excited about that update. So I'm just going to click new. There we go. Okay. So the final part. How do architects, builders, and designers use their existing software and pair it with Geopogo? So the first part here is most architectural designers are working in a software platform called Revit. They might also use SketchUp or Archicad. And so they can design pretty much anything they want. This is a pretty easy building to digest. It's nice and small and it shows up nice on the app. So designers export these models into a .dave format. And so we work with a company called Lumion. They let us use their exporter, and we can go ahead and export this design. And I'm just going to find a nice little place for it. Let's just call it Tiny House. Tiny Home 3, that's good. And we're just going to export that out. And it should only take a couple of seconds. For teams that are on the call that use Revit, we always recommend to add materials to each of the Revit components, because those materials will come into Geopogo. So if there's something specific that you want to have a different material, or you want to break up different materials, always add materials to the model. The file size limitation seems to be about 500 megabytes. So we don't recommend going above that. Now, a 500 megabyte file is pretty big. We've gotten some really big buildings into the app, but if you're going to put a lot of detail, like plumbing, mechanical, electrical, always churn that information off if that's not the point of the presentation. But if you're doing an ADU or a tiny house, you can get away with a lot of detail, and it should work in the app quite well. Okay, so let's go into Geopogo, and we are going to import that file. So I go File, Import, and I just locate the model. I always copy the file location path, and I hit Import. This gives you just a little bit of navigation so you know how to use the platform. It's all fairly simple, very similar to other 3D software that's out there. With the exception, if you hit the F2 and F3 keys, it'll save renderings onto your desktop. F2 is just a screenshot, and what F3 does is it isolates the model, so you can do some nice crops without having to take them into Photoshop. So here's our model, and I'm just going to position it into place. And I like to usually put it just a little bit back. What you want is 0, 0 aligns with 0, 0 on the app. So if you want the house to appear in front of you by a couple feet, just position it away from 0, 0. If you put the house right in the middle, what's going to happen is the user is going to open the app and they're going to be inside the model. So it's your preference what you want to do. I always find it's always best to load the model away from the user, and then that way there they can walk up and they can go inside the model. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move just to a different camera type here. I'm going to go from Orbit Cam into Free Camera. Teams that use Unity or Unreal are probably familiar with the free camera. It just gives us nicer control. And I'm just going to quickly dress this model up. Maybe I don't like some of the materials that I imported, so I'm just going to apply these. I'm going to put some glass. And I'm going to put some concrete. And sometimes for the ground floor, you do have to cut into the plane just for it to load nicely. And we can go inside. And again, same thing. I'm just going to apply some materials here. Now, this current version of Geopogo is not meant to be a pretty rendition engine, but we are working with Unity's HDRP rendition pipeline. So there is coming a day where even the desktop editor will work really nicely as a 3D walkthrough tool. But for right now, just keep it as a staging platform and don't expect it to replace Unreal or other rendition software that's out there. And I'm just gonna kind of pretty some stuff up here. There we go. This is pretty good. This is okay. And if no one minds, I'm just gonna kind of play decorator for a quick minute. Perfect. And I'm even gonna add some interior lighting just to kind of liven some things up here. There we go. We got the exterior all nice. And I'm also just gonna make sure that the model is positioned above the grid. So if the model's below the grid, what'll happen is that's how it loads on the app. It'll be essentially below 0, 0 as well. So it'll look like your model's in the ground. So just always make sure it's slightly above the grid if that's not the case. And then I'm just gonna do some final touch-ups, starting to look pretty decent. Kind of dress that up. We can even see what it's gonna look like in a night or day situation. So now it's starting to look pretty good. You could even use this itself to present to your customers. And finally, I'm just gonna put just a little bit of detail on the outside. Just gonna put a chair. Aha, there we go. There's something nice. And we could even put some exterior lighting if we wanted to. We put a first-person camera in so you can just go through and explore some final details. Make sure everything's nice and pretty how you like it. Looking pretty good. Escape brings me back to the orbit camera. And I apologize if I'm going fast. I've been using the software forever, so I'll go pretty quickly. If I'm going too fast for you, just let me know. And I'll say that's pretty much complete. This model is ready to go. So let's click Viewing AR. And let's call it AR VR Creators for anybody who's on the app. I'm going to hit Post Publicly, and we're going to hope it exports and Murphy's Law doesn't decide to get it as it always does. And we'll let it kind of process and do it some thinking there. And while it's doing that, does anybody have any questions? Okay.
So, Mike, this is Mike Oder. Yeah. I was wondering. So so what sort of things can you do with the multiplayer feature in the app?
Oh yeah, I'll go into that next.
Okay.
So the multiplayer feature is really exciting, where we've built on AWS GameLift, and so ultimately what it does is it brings the platform from being standalone, and it brings it into a multiplayer environment. So anybody who has Geopogo installed in their computers, you can all connect together and ultimately go and explore the designs together in real time at the same time. And if anybody has Geopogo installed in their PC, just raise their hand and we can do it together live. If not, I'll ping Mac, and Mac might be able to join me. Our future vision for multiplayer is the ability for design teams to not only review designs together, but eventually design together at the exact same time. So everyone here is probably pretty familiar with multiplayer games, multiplayer shooters, or even Minecraft's multiplayer capabilities. We want to essentially take the same essence of that and let design teams in architecture create at the same time. And the hypothesis is that it would dramatically reduce design time because people are working together simultaneously. and not in isolation. So it'll be an interesting experiment to see if the behavior works out and if it's successful in the long run. So let's let this export here. I think this one, my internet speed is pretty slow. You can see I'm on like 1 bar. So if I was on full, it would, kind of go right away, but it'll go eventually. What it's doing here is it's taking the model, it's packaging it at the moment. And so it's packaging it from a .day file into a JLB file. And then it's bringing it up into our Amazon S3 bucket. And so there's a packaging time, and then there's an uploading time to the S3 container. And we have both public containers and then, of course, secure containers. So if you make an account, you can upload models just to your private account, and nobody else will see it except for anybody that you give access to that account. But I always love the public account because anybody in the world who has the app can all see this model at the same time. And so we'll let that just kind of continue there. I'll play around in the model. Bring that back to daytime. I don't want to play around with it too much in case I break anything, but we're just fine. Actually, that's pretty good. We should let that go. Okay, let's let it do its thing while it's done. Yeah, just ask any questions as we're going, or John, if you want to talk about any of the systems you help build, you can jump in.
Hopefully there's not much to talk about from a user standpoint. It should be quick and easy to use on the phone or other iOS device.
Yep. We want to jump into Android fairly soon. So we have been searching for an Android developer for some time who can take the source code and reapply it for Android phones. And then we've been discussing for iPhones the ability to turn on occlusion layers so you can see that the model is in fact on the ground. And that helps give the perception that the model is truly grounded. And there's other things that we want to do as well. So it's complete. The model's there now on the app. So if we take our phones, and yeah, you guys can see my phone there. I'm going to open the app. So that's the Geopogo Ar app. And so you take the app, you scan the ground, and you scan the ground so that you get the 0, point. Once it's, oh, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, we're still seeing your desktop.
Yeah. Oh, I don't have a way to share my screen on the, actually, let me try that. It could be dangerous. Hold on. I'm going to join the session on my phone. Let's see if it works.
Okay.
Okay, give me 1 second. Yeah. Okay, let me look. Okay, I'm going to just find the Zoom link. ARVR creators. Okay, let's see this. I've never successfully done this before, so let's see if this works. Okay. I'm just going to do that, but I'm going to mute. How do I do this? Okay, share screen. Start broadcast. Let's see if this works. Do you guys see my phone screen?
Not quite yet.
Oh, here we go. Start share.
Oh, now we see it.
Okay, cool. Let's see if this works. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, there we go. Okay. Go over. There we go. Okay. This is gonna have a bit of lag, so give me a minute. View more models. And then AR VR creators. Okay, it's downloading. Let's just see here. You're seeing my dog. Okay, so let's just see here. So I'm using a lot of Wi-Fi resources.
Yeah, for everybody else who's on the call, this is Mike. I was able to actually download the model and view it on my phone, so it definitely works for if you want to give it a try. So, Mike, I mean, we might have lost your audio. So.
Okay, how much of that were you guys able to process?
Yeah, we're definitely able to see it.
Didn't hear it.
Did it share the screen?
It did share the screen. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I was able. So yeah, I projected the model. Now you guys said you're able to project the model as well on your end.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It worked really well.
Oh, fantastic. So yeah, play around with that, and that's pretty much that's the key. We ended up building out 4 controls, so you can move the model, rotate the model, scale the model, and then move the model up and down. So if it's misaligned, you can always drop it down to the ground. We added a light source button. So for older phones, if there's too much performance impact, you can basically push the light bulb button on the top left-hand corner. And so what that'll do is it'll turn off the secondary light source, and it'll work smoother for older phones. And then the record button lets you take pictures and then record walkthroughs. So you could record a walkthrough and then send that to your client or post it on social media or whatever you want to do. So that's the gist. And I'm going to come back really quick to the meeting because I'm on my phone right now. So just give me 1 second. Here we go. Okay. I'm just going to switch back forward over to...
Okay, perfect. So I'm back. All right.
Great.
So if that worked, and that I think that ultimately concludes the presentation between the platform, how you can use the design tools. You can import models, whether it's from Autodesk or another source, and then you can export it to the app and load and present on the site or the property. So that's pretty much that. That's it from my end. Any questions?
Oh, nice presentation, Mike. Thank you. So I have a question about you mentioning the other layers for like plumbing, electrical. So how would those come through in the models?
That's right. So what we do right now is we tell design teams just to, if the point of the presentation is the architecture, to keep it to the architecture so they can just turn those layers off. If the point of the presentation is the mechanical, structural, electrical, then they can turn those layers off on in Revit and turn everything else off. So you can export to the app just the mechanical layer, just the electrical layer, and then you do the same thing. You basically project and line it up over top of the building.
Are there any so if somebody's creating a model through the system, is there any licensing restrictions on that at all? Or are they able to use it however they want? Or
yeah, they can. What we do is there's a subscription license, so it's $99 a month to use it unlimited times, and then ultimately there's a free trial that anybody can download and play around with for 30 days. Yeah.
Great. So does anybody else have any questions?
All right, perfect. Well, I hope that was quite insightful and informative on the platform, and we're always looking for designers and developers, UX design, UI design, and then of course Android development are key people that we're looking for. So if you or anybody on the call is interested, definitely shoot us a message.
Terrific.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
So, and for everybody, we actually usually have a once a week open hangout on Thursday afternoons. This week we're doing this presentation, but join us again next week for our networking hangout, and hope to see you there. But otherwise, hope you have a great afternoon, and thanks again to the people from Geopogo. All right, take care.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for holding this, Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye. See you next week.
Take care.
All right. Thank you, guys.